officially as it gets started this week. Wednesday, we'll be at the luncheon. That's a good thing. Coaches talking to the press, practice beginning, and our adventure is underway. Now, it comes at a very interesting time because as we sit here today, no doubt many of you are looking at the news involving Florida State and the rumors that surround the program and what may or may not be talked about come Tuesday or Wednesday, and that's fascinating in and of itself. It would certainly seem to me, let's just jump to it. For those that don't know, there's a lot of chatter on the interwebs about Florida State intending to leave or make an announcement of some kind that they're going to plan to exit the ACC. And that grew louder over the weekend. Some of the sources of that information are dubious. Some of those sources are a little bit more well-respected, and everything in between. What to believe, what not to believe, understandably, is what we're asking ourselves on a day like this. I think a lot of folks wonder what is real, what's tangible, what's something that is actionable, and what isn't. I think it is fair through context clues to deduce, Tom, and I haven't talked to you about this just yet. I think Florida State's the source of the information. I don't think there's any question that Florida State wants it out there, that they're upset, that they feel, in so many words, defrauded, and that this is untenable. We told you this once before. There hasn't been enough movement on the front of to Florida State's liking, and now our intentions are going to be made. Here's what I'll say about it. Somebody has to be the bad guy, and I think Florida State's willing to be the bad guy. And that's what I keep coming back to. I think at some point, Clemson probably feels the exact same way we do, and they're willing to let Florida State take the lead on this. And, look at it a lot of ways, because we can come at it a lot of different ways. Let's say the Big Ten was interested in taking North Carolina and Virginia. And let's say that the SEC, wink, wink, nod, nod, has told Florida State in the past that maybe there's a home for you if you could ever extradite yourself from this untenable situation. Oh, by the way, we would deny that to the hilt because we're not going to put ourselves in a position to get sued. However, if you were no longer in that position, just know there's a landing spot. Same for you, Clemson. All right, perhaps that's so. What would Florida State be doing? Well, this would be a clarion call to the Big 12 that perhaps somebody like NC State, Louisville, Georgia Tech, I don't know, Virginia Tech, maybe even Miami, if they're not along for the ride, would be worth reaching out to about joining the Big 12 and their new venture and their efforts as they try to grab assets like Arizona State and Arizona. They've already grabbed Colorado. You could see where all of the musical chairs begin, and it doesn't really matter if this is 100% true over here and this is sort of true or this isn't true and this is really what's happening. What you want is things to reach a critical mass. You want there to be a lot of discussion about those that could potentially house you and help you in your efforts to get out of the ACC, let's say, to have to come to the table and get involved for fear that somebody else is doing the same and you get leapfrogged. You get, in some way, outmaneuvered. The fear of allowing, for example, if I were to take this further, if you're the SEC, you might say, well, we don't really need Florida State and we really don't need Clemson. We're already in those markets, even though these days it's about brands and assets and a larger television contract and not so much about cable boxes like it once was. You could say that, but here's your problem. If the Big Ten decides, screw you, we'll take Florida State and Clemson and maybe Miami and maybe North Carolina and Virginia. If all of a sudden that were to happen, the devil's in your backyard and they're coast to coast. And you let it happen. You didn't have to let that happen. You could have grabbed two of those major assets for yourself. Those two programs that I alluded to from the top, Clemson and Florida State, would happily join the SEC as opposed to the Big Ten. They would take that offer tomorrow if they could. So do you want to take the chance that all of that maneuvering is happening and you're going to sit idly by because you don't believe some of the rumors or you don't think that it's possible? I don't think you do. I think that this has probably been discussed many times over in back rooms and clandestine ways. And ESPN would have to be involved in these sorts of discussions as well. I mean, imagine if you're ESPN right now and you're deciding, okay, look, the ACC was an asset for us, but you have the two biggest names in the conference saying, this will not work. This isn't going to work for us. We don't care that it works for you. Yeah, it makes you money, although we believe you could be making more money if you were to reconfigure. But you're just sitting idly by because, in essence, you can tell us to pound sand because you think the grant of rights situation is rock solid, and therefore we have no avenue with which to maneuver. But we know we're dead in the water every day we sit here. So what do we care? We're going to make as much noise as possible because we're dead either way. Either you make this right, and if you don't, fine, we'll get it tangled up in courts. We'll sue you. We'll sue everybody under the sun, and you're going to have to be involved in all of this. Or you could be proactive and decide, long term, we're making pennies on the dollar out of the ACC. We could have a stronger SEC with these assets from the ACC and sell off these other pieces, if you will. We'll see if they find a landing spot, however you want to look at it. But we've got to act now because they're not going to just sit around and take it. They've decided they're not going to sit around and take it. And it does sound like our chief rivals in this situation, which would be Fox, right, are, probably happy to let the Big Ten operate at this point. So I find all of it a bit of a jumbled mess. And when you follow some of the paths that have been proposed in articles or Twitter feeds or interviews, you can poke holes in all of it. I agree with that. You can say, well, I don't think that would happen because of this. And then somebody would counter and say, well, but then what about this? You can do that. And it makes it very hard to pin anything down specifically. But there's certainly a ton of noise in the system. There's no getting around that. There is a lot going on behind the scenes that Florida State's upper brass, I think, are happy to see play out. I think that some of these things, if you go read, for example, I don't know Mountain Sports News. I don't know who the hell that is.
Could have been created last night.
Could have been. A lot of very interesting specifics in that article. I mean, specifics.
That URL was purchased with the last name Alford on the card?
I mean, if you're going to talk about things you think may have been leaked, this would be that, right?
That's satire, folks.
That would be what you're reading here. And some of the things you've heard over the last 7 days. Kernels of truths, half-truths, partial truths, things that you're like, yeah, I could see that. That may have happened. That did happen. Well, that didn't happen. But, well, that's somebody just leaping logic here. But that did happen. You can see this.
Oh, yeah. Between the things that are on web pages and then also personal inboxes, personal cell phone calls, personal texts, personal direct messages, you talk about noise. There is a lot of it right now. A lot of it. People that are interested, people that claim they have all the answers, people that claim they have some of the answers. This is wacky season. I'm sure your phone is doing that times 10, but it's every time I open up X, as it's known now, there's a DM or 3 saying, hey, look out for this. This is true.
So if you go back, I remember one time having a conversation with a friend, and this friend is tuned in, is connected. He's a Florida State grad, is somebody that cares deeply about the program. We've often, over the last 20 years, had larger discussions about the future of Florida State football and football in the ACC and where inevitably this is going. And as we were talking about what are the ways where you think one could argue that Florida State has a lawsuit, has a legal maneuver to use to get out from under the grant of rights. Because that's what we've been talking about for years now, for a couple of years now. This is what we keep talking about this, the grant of rights. Is it rock solid? Is it something that can't be broken? Is it something, going back to Peter Collins and his discussion with Michael Alford on YouTube for everybody to see in the Board of Trustees meeting, we've got a handle. I think that was the quote, right? We've got a handle.
Yeah, that was Peter Collins, yeah.
Yeah, we got a handle on the grant of rights, which raised an eyebrow. Everybody raised an eyebrow. immediately elicited reactions from national media types and those that cover the ACC and college football on the whole. Certainly did for us locally. And then it was examined again. You know, there were other people. I remember talking specifically, I spoke with Andy Staples, who at the time was with The Athletic. He's now with On3 with us. And I asked him, you know, what do you make of that? That Peter Collins would say that. What do you make of Florida State saying they have a handle on the grant of rights? He's like, I don't know. I have an interview with Michael Alford coming up here in about 2 weeks. So I'll have to ask him what that meant. But I do know, having looked at it, this is him talking, having looked at the grant of rights, because this thought was like that it was hidden away and nobody could see it. That's not true. You can. And he said, look, I think there's a case to be made. It's just a matter, does somebody want to be the first to do it? Does somebody want to put themselves out there and be in a position to have to spend potentially millions of dollars in a legal battle? You want to take this to court, understanding that you may lose. So you go to court and you pay all that money for attorneys and everything else that you got to go through in order to fight a lawsuit, and it doesn't play out for you in the way that you hoped. You're dead in the water. You've just spent millions of dollars and you got a big fat no, and you're right back to where you started, only broker. And so this was sort of the who's going to be the one. And now I've circled back to the conversation I had with my buddy that's tuned in, and he said, look, I wonder if you go back to when this went down. Do you remember the way Swofford talked to the athletic directors and presidents of the member institutions when he was trying to get everybody to understand, look, we got a network that's going to be built, but they will not build this television network if they don't think that the major players are unified.
Yeah, is this grant of rights 1, in which he promised Notre Dame, or grant of rights 2? You know, the extension.
Yeah, no, I think it's probably grant of rights 1, because it's around the time.
That was 12 or so.
Yeah, it's around that time, right?
Yeah.
And
we were on the air together.
Yes, we were.
Getting old.
And you wonder if in that moment there was some sort of presentation. Perhaps there was a presentation by ESPN to Swofford and the folks at the ACC about, I don't know, potential revenue projections.
It almost sounded like you said ESPN2 made the presentation,
No.
which would kind of fit ACC versus what ESPN's trying to do. The ACC is the ESPN2 of the power relationships that they have.
Well, you get where I'm going. If there were revenue projections that were not met.
Yeah, if you've got something that's presented in black and white and it is a revenue projection, not estimate, you know, it's just this is the chart. Here is the chart. The chart that's going to make you go, where do I sign? And you put that in a formal presentation, then perhaps, I don't know if that's going to hold up in court, though, if that's the crux of your argument. It might take the ACC to a place where you can arrange a settlement.
Well, that's all you're trying to do. I don't think you're necessarily trying to go to court. I think
what's the number?
What is the number, guys? You see, we have something that we're falling back on that we will push if we have to. It's not nothing. If you could argue breach of contract,
argue it.
You can argue, or that you were misled, that there were bad faith representations.
Yeah.
If you're able to do that, Tom, obviously you can take this to court. Now, I'm not an attorney. I don't know really anything about what's possible when it comes to the grant of rights and Florida State's success chances, percentages, if they take this to court. I don't know. I don't want to pretend like I know that. I can't know that.
Here's one thing that you can know, no matter what attorney you talk to in what field. Anytime you take it to trial, you're rolling the dice.
Yeah.
You can believe that you have the airtight argument of the century, but if it comes down to a judge's decision or a jury, it doesn't matter that you believe that you have something airtight. You can lose. Unexpected things happen at trial all the time. Now, perhaps that's what Florida State would say if they're saying, you believe you have a great case. Let's see over the next 3 years if you're willing to spend all the money. Or here's scenario B. You know we want out. We know that you're not happy with us right now either. how about you just take this lump sum of cash?
You and I have been saying this for a while, that the hope is that once Florida State made it abundantly clear they have no desire to be here, they have no intent on staying here, that they are going to be exploring every option possible to them in terms of getting out of here, that once the clock starts ticking on that there is no mending of fences, that this is over, then perhaps you speed up the timetable by which the ACC comes and says, not unlike you have a big-time free agent in a small market that wants out. I mean, I know a lot about this as a Pittsburgh Pirate fan. They're forever having to watch the Garrett Coles and Andrew McCutcheons of the world leave these markets because they can't afford them. And those guys know they can get $200 million, $300 million if they go to the Dodgers or the Yankees or wherever, and now you're screwed, and you know it. It's inevitable. And so at some point you come to the table and say, well, what do you got? What do you got? Because we're 2 years removed now. I'm not going to wait until we're over a barrel. So we're going to have to make a deal. And that was the hope here that, okay, does the ACC say, all right, look, FSU's out of here. We got to get something for them. They're gone. They're going to do whatever they can to make our lives miserable. They're going to continue to scream from the mountaintop. They're going to explore legal action. They're going to do everything in their power to leave. What would we consider a reasonable solution here financially?
Well, and a couple of moving parts here. I recall an interview you did with Ira after his column. This is a couple months ago in May, and the column says, and I believe you guys chuckled about it because the lead was buried, that Ira believes that Florida State would go out on its own and take whatever steps necessary because they know in the ACC they're dead already. That's kind of something that's been in the back of my mind since this news continues, or this smoke continues to billow out of the buildings. And you're saying, all right, you guys really are kind of posturing like you're going to do this on your own if you have to. Even if Clemson's not coming with you or Miami or whatever, you're willing to forge this fight on your own. Well, okay, the will is there, we know.
Mm-hmm.
But then the other side of it, this is where I was so damned happy when I learned about Texas and Oklahoma leaving the Big 12 early, because it proved that you don't have to come up with the lump sum of cash immediately. We don't have that. We don't have that kind of money. And neither they do, but they didn't have to spend it up front.
Yeah.
It was disbursements against future earnings. So if you're telling me that you can fix this loan over a period of time, then it just comes down to what's the number. And if you base it on the precedent of Texas and Oklahoma of $50 million for 1 year, that's too expensive for the remainder of this contract. We don't have that kind of money. But if you could get it down somewhere between $0 and $500 to $600 million, perhaps there's an appetite at that point for Florida State. They laughed at $120 million at the Board of Trustees meeting for the whole world to see. So it's more than 120 and it's less than 6. Where are we going? And I think if both sides could come to an agreement of what's the lump sum going to be, that's the pathway here.
So,
but you've got to motivate the ACC to want to take that lump.
There are other aspects of this conversation that I think are worth vetting and a lot of fun to have because it takes you down different roads. Let's do that as well when we come back. But also, obviously, I want to bring it back home for a moment. There's a lot on the plate this year for Florida State football. We're back from Charlotte. We were there last week. Week before that, I was in Ireland. I feel like I've not been in this studio in a while. We have a lot to catch up on directly affecting Florida State this year on the field to get into, as well as this is it, guys. We're underway just like that. It kind of snuck up on you, and you realize all of a sudden this is the beginning of what should be an awesome season. And, listen, will there be disappointments along the way? Perhaps. Will there be great joy after significant victories? Probably. There will be a lot for us to digest, but we embark on it now. Wednesday's the luncheon, and then they start practice, and it's go time. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Hey, this is your stomach speaking. It's time to eat again. We met deadlines and closed out the workday like a boss. The last thing you want to do is cook dinner. Even worse, pick up any fast food garbage. We need something good, something local. We need foodiestakeout.com. An all-star lineup of local spots like Smitty's Tap House, El Jalisco, Jerry's Cafe, Hangar 38, Metro Deli, and more. It's so easy. Just choose pickup or delivery, and let's eat the good stuff. I'm growling already. Visit foodiestakeout.com.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF
Your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Got chronic joint pain but want to avoid steroids and surgery? Take some advice from pro football legend Emmitt Smith. Call QC Kinetics.
Let QC Kinetics help you improve your quality of life with biologic therapies that get your body to repair and restore damaged tissue.
These exciting new regenerative treatments from local medical professionals can help your body heal itself with lasting pain relief.
Trust me, you want to avoid surgery if you can. Check out these biologic treatments to see what your options are.
QC Kinetics, restorative regenerative solutions with no downtime, no surgery, no drugs.
I'm talking about joint pain we all can relate to in your knees, your shoulders, your hips, and your lower back. They'll get you feeling good again.
Get relief now.
What are you waiting on? Make the call to QC Kinetics. Tell them Emmitt Smith sent you.
Call QC Kinetics, 850-391-4280. That's 850-391-4280. 850-391-4280.
If you've been considering getting a new hot tub or upgrading your existing hot tub, now's the absolute best time to do it. Hot Spring Spas has the jets on full blast, and the prices right now have never been hotter. You can find huge savings at Pinch A Penny Pools and Spas, and we mean huge. For a limited time, you can get up to $5,000 off in instant discounts and rebates, plus 60 months no interest financing for qualified buyers. You heard that right, $5,000 in discounts. And that's not all. When you buy a hot spring spa from Pinch A Penny Pools and Spas, you'll get a free consultation to determine the best placement in your yard for installation, a free accessory of your choice, and install can be completed in just a matter of days. It's the most aggressive rebate program that's ever been available to buyers from Hot Spring Spas. So stop by Pinch A Penny Pools and Spas on Greer Road today to check out their 12,000 square foot showroom with over 50 hot tubs on site. If you're ready to relax, Pinch A Penny Pools and Spas is ready to show you how.
T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, T-SparkConstruction.com. We conquer all peaks. We fix those darn leaks. Call 850-766-1340. T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, TSparkConstruction.com.
License number CCC 1331204.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Florida State quarterback Jordan Travis, running back Trey Benson, both on the Maxwell Award watch list. That was announced today. Florida State is the only school in the state of Florida and one of 2 ACC schools with multiple players on this year's watch list. Just so you know, there it is, just like that. Stands to reason, given that Jordan Travis enters the 2023 season as a Heisman Trophy candidate. And Benson, obviously, you could say, emerged as a superstar in the making. The second half of 2022, rushed for just short of 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns, 144 yards on 13 receptions, and also, by the way, 192 yards and a long touchdown on 5 kickoff returns. And that kickoff return was fun as hell because he was breaking tackles along the way and then getting separation late. And you thought, that's how you start a game, baby. Trey Benson averaged 6.46 yards per rush, which led the ACC and was 13th best in the country. Okay, then. can't wait to watch Trey Benson, just like I enjoyed watching Trey Benson last year. But, yeah, he
Behind
did.
a better offensive line with more weapons in other places, so he's going to be in more advantageous situations.
We talked about on our return from Charlotte some of the things that stood out at the ACC kickoff. One, this conference is going broke. I used to get robes and coffee mugs and satin jackets when we went to the ACC kickoff, and now you get a thanks for being here. Here's a pencil. You get this pencil, or would you like this little coolie? This little thing here. It's not quite a koozie because it's metally, but you could put your drink in it.
Actually, yeah, I think I have that in the bag.
You got mine?
Yeah. Well, I didn't get one. I got the umbrella instead.
Right.
Yeah. But I'll bring in the cup so you can show people the cup.
Yeah.
Like, would you like the cup or the umbrella?
You get a cup and a kick in the ass. Telling you to buck up. You're slumming it now, partner. That's what it said right above the hotel there.
But it is a kick in the ass from Jim Grobe. You know, ACC legend Jim Grobe's here.
Oh man,
look at that boot.
Yeah, so that's what you had. You had a. This doesn't look like it used to now, does it? Feel about it. The wrapping of the elevators and the, the shiny objects that were all about you at one point when you went to ACC kickoff were dull and faded. Looked like they would been previously used.
Yes, I think they were.
I think some of
the
items
left them.
had been previously used.
They might have left them from last year, just left them up.
Yeah.
Like, if you've got 3 elevators in a row, like, listen, I don't care if the elevator is wrapped with a logo.
No, just do the one in the middle.
Well, that's what they did.
Used to be all 3.
I'm saying if you're going to do any, do all 3 or do none at all. Because if you just do the one.
You're like, this kind of looks, by the way, this one's torn a little bit. Yeah. This was like glass. I think this is the one.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I think it had the 2022 dates on it. I should have looked closer.
Like a pencil smear, like when you screwed up on a paper. Oh, my goodness gracious. The media luncheon is Wednesday. It'll take place inside the Varsity Club for us there in the media. We'll be there. Look forward to it. Begins at noon. And then the assistant coach availability is there. We will obviously talk to the assistant coaches, and then we'll book it back to this studio because at 1 o'clock, Mike will address the press. I just talked to Mike. I know what his message is going to be, and we're live at 1. So we'll let you know what he has to say in the second hour is what we'll do. But, this is always fun. They just changed it up a little bit this year. But once again, I wanted to give tangible evidence that football is upon us. And there it is. It starts Wednesday, baby.
And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday is the first wave of practice acclimation. Those are in the afternoon.
Yeah, those practices suck.
They do.
Because it's shorts and a T-shirt, baby.
But the first one's always good, just to see
who's going to be
been
out there, right?
The work, all that kind of stuff. And frankly, watching Keon Coleman, Destin Hill, and some others.
Well, that's the exact reason.
Goldie Lawrence.
Yeah,
because that stuff can kind of translate, the one-on-ones, the 7-on-7s, those first few days. It's enough to whet the appetite. By Saturday afternoon, I think we'll be tired of it. But then once acclimation is over, they move to morning practices a week from today.
Woo-hoo!
A week from today. It's now in the morning. You'll get your news around 11:30. For Thursday through Saturday, you'll get your news around 6:30 at night.
Love the morning practices. 25 days until the start of college football. 25 days, ladies and gentlemen. Not to the start of Florida State football, but till the first game is played. It is just 25 days and 23 hours away.
You have already experienced your last week without Florida State football practice until December. You have already experienced that week. This is not that week because there is football practice this week.
Yeah, and I would also say that I think I'm going to give you the exact date here. Bear with me. This is Hall of Fame game time, buddy.
Is that like tomorrow?
It is not tomorrow.
3
It
o'clock?
is Thursday, August the 3rd.
This Thursday.
This Thursday is the last day in which, or this Wednesday is the last day in which there's not going to be an NFL football game on that week. So starting Thursday, from there on out, there's an NFL football game to be found.
I cannot
in
wait
any
to
given
see
week.
What Baker Mayfield can do with
the
Evans
Bucs?
and Godwin and Russell Gage.
This is a season where if you were inclined to watch certain other teams that your friends root for, or in your case, your wife, then you might be tuned in to more of their games than you're accustomed to.
Oh, this is Scott Hansen season. This is what it is.
This is, you get to tune in. Like, so, for example, the Hall of Fame game, the Jets and the Browns. Okay, give me the Jets and the Browns. But from there, it's just, which is the game of the week? You got me. Because it won't be the Bucks. We know that.
Yeah, the Hall of Fame game is cheeks, but everybody gets
Cheeks.
excited for the first drive when the starting quarterback is on the field to hand it off twice, and then he's done for the night. And then you're like, okay, I've seen it.
Well,
That's the thing.
it's really big, strong dudes running 4.4 40s and pads knocking the hell out of each other. We
Blowing out
love
their knees.
that. We love it.
Blowing out their knees on a terrible playing surface in the home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
It's
That's
just,
right.
it's all that matters is it's football being played. Bad or not, I mean, we love that football is being played. I'm going to watch it. It's that season. It's going to be good. All right, let's get back to this. The other takeaway, besides the ACC's broken, we need to get the hell out of here, and we're a broken record on that front. Jordan Travis, uber confident and really comfortable in his skin. Very comfortable as the guy. Very comfortable as the unquestioned leader of this team. Very comfortable with the expectations that are placed upon him and this offense. No matter where you look, no matter who it is, what outlet that covers this conference, you can find glowing projections for Florida State's offense, which is correct. It's really hard to argue otherwise. They were already a really good offense last year. All they did was add depth and talent to an offense that was already good. So no reason to believe they won't be great, but with that comes an awful lot of pressure for you to deliver. And some folks can't wait to step foot on the practice field with those expectations, can't wait to let it shine, can't wait to showcase, can't wait to have the opportunity to have come to fruition what they've always dreamt of, and that is electrifying offense and a whole bunch of points scored and a good time on Saturdays at Doak Campbell Stadium. And he seems absolutely willing to embrace all of it with a great degree of confidence and humility. It has been perfectly, I think, embraced by Jordan Travis. He's all at once brimming with confidence, and he does not come across as overly arrogant. It is a perfect scenario, I think, for the leader of this football team in the season that I think he's going to have. The question is about the defense. The question then continues to linger as we sit here today about whether or not Daryl Jackson will get his waiver. I suggested last time we talked that I was beginning to get a little concerned that is not going to go Florida State's way. It doesn't mean Florida State can't be very, very, very good on defense. Doesn't mean Florida State can't be appreciably better, as I like to say, on defense. It does mean, though, that you would lose a massive asset to your defensive line and a difference maker when motivated. So hold your breath, I guess. We'll wait and see. It's not finalized at this point. We don't know for certain that it's happened, but I do think that there's reason for your concerns. The consternation and the wringing of the hands that went on with this fan base dating back 3-4 weeks ago regarding the issue of the waiver at that time was something that, was comical. It's not comical anymore. Now it's sort of, yeah, I feel you. I got you. I'm there with you. It's looking bleak. I would term it as it's looking bleak. Doesn't mean it won't happen, but it's looking bleak. I think to some degree there would be posturing here, not unlike the situation with the ACC and Florida State's efforts to get out of the conference. There's a sort of a sense of, we know who you are and we know what you're about to do, and we're not going to sit here and take it on both accounts. And on this one, I wonder how far up the flagpole they'd be willing to run it, because at some point, I think you'd have to threaten a lawsuit, and you'd have to say, you really want to go here? You'd want this public. I mean, I'll tell you one of the things I would do if I were Florida State. If you think that you're about to get ruled against in this situation, whether you think it's, I don't know, Stan Wilcox, whether you think it's the NCAA in general, whether you think the kid screwed up, whatever you think it is, how about an interview with him and his mother? let's talk a little bit about the situation you find yourself in. Oh, and it'd be everywhere. It'd be on the Jeff Cameron Show. It'd be on Wake Up Warchant. It'd be on all the other outlets. It'd be on YouTube. You want to play the game? We'll play the game now. I mean, let's go to war because we're double middle fingers to the NCAA anyhow at this point. So I'm in. But it'll be fascinating to see if we get to that point. When do they start publicly stating they have their concerns?
Seems like, and understandably so now that camp is back, there's a few folks in here that maybe weren't there on Friday pointing out in the chat that, how about you help yourself, Daryl? Well, yes, in your initial discussion of these potential doubts that you might have, that was a big talking point. That, hey, man, you need not go run to social media every time you're displeased with a certain situation.
100%. I said this last week. Yeah, you're noting that. Yeah,
back to the surface.
Yeah, no. By the way, 100 Proof Football, you're right in the chat. I said this last week. I said those exact words. Hey, don't be a dumbass and run onto social media and claim that you're willing to leave with your friend if he goes, because it makes your claim appear weak. Yes, it does. Doesn't mean it's obsolete. Doesn't mean you can't cite he was emotional. Just noting that if you really, I'm kind of curious to see, what do they do?
Well, they call the JCS PR firm is what they do.
Well, I'm already on it.
That's just a morsel.
That's just
a morsel of the insight.
I just told you what I'd do. I'd already be on this. I'd have already had a call. My phone should be ringing right now. That's a good idea, Jeff Cameron.
Wait till they see the binder. Oh, there's a binder.
Yeah.
But it costs.
Now, I'm not saying that, we're Jimmy McGill over here, but I would certainly.
You can now say that with gusto.
I would just, that sort of presentation might be possible. Ma'am, can I get you a seat before we start the interview here? Please, can I? It's tough. I understand. Please, Daryl, can you help?
Yeah. Let's make sure we're not panned in and zoomed in too close here, guys. Make sure we get a wide angle of this.
It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
2 men were injured in a shooting Friday morning at the McDonald's on Bay Street in Madison. An argument broke out inside the restaurant at about 10:30 a.m. and carried outside. That's when shots were fired. 2 men in their early 20s were hurt in the shooting. One of the men was grazed by a bullet in the head. The other man's injuries are unknown. Both were transported to Tallahassee Memorial for treatment. Investigators are interviewing witnesses and reviewing video as they work to gather more information. A subway across the street from the scene of the shooting was reportedly damaged by the gunfire, with multiple bullets hitting the building's windows. A man accused of abducting a woman in Tallahassee and driving her across the county line to Quincy, Stone Robinson Fisher, 20 years old, is charged with kidnapping and aggravated assault. Robinson Fisher pulled the victim out of her friend's car by her hair, began slapping her, and forced her into his car at gunpoint. The woman managed to escape when he stopped at a store in Quincy for her to use the restroom. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. A heat advisory continues until 8 p.m. tonight. Mainly clear skies this afternoon with a chance for scattered thunderstorms. Daytime highs approaching 94. Winds out of the northwest, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Chance for scattered storms again tonight, 76. Lots of sunshine tomorrow. Slight chance for scattered storms, 97. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 90.
At Epps Decorating Center, we're your locally owned Benjamin Moore retailer. We're your store for quality with brilliant and durable paints in a variety of sheens and thousands of colors. We're your store for service with one-on-one advice for contractors and homeowners. We're your local experts, and we're here to help with all your painting projects. Benjamin Moore, available at Epps Decorating Center with 2 locations in Tallahassee. Find a store near you and visit EppsDecorating.com. That's EppsDecorating.com.
My man Eddie.
Jeff, what's happening, dude?
Bears eating people all over the place. I read another article today. It's the 3rd one in the last month of somebody getting mauled to death by a bear.
Man, bears have their own space. You got to let them have that.
You do. You got to stay clear of bears, is what you're saying?
Yes.
I got a question for you. Here you go. If you had to be mauled to death, eaten alive by any animal in the world, which would you choose to eat you alive?
Ooh, I think maybe I'd want I don't know, longevity time, a mouse?
Just a slow burn.
Slow little burn.
This thing's just finished the pinking. It's been a month.
I could go to work. I could still do my thing. I could probably live 30 years.
I thought you were going to say great white because it'd be quick, or a grizzly. We went with mouse.
Yeah, mouse.
Okay. Mouse it is. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Things pinch a penny where you could go check out the warehouse. 12,000 square feet of tubs. Everywhere you look, there's tubs. They've got over 50 of them in stock right now. If you're ready to relax, they'll show you how, and you can finance this sucker at 0% for 60 months. If you were serious about buying a hot tub, that's all you need right there. 0% interest for 60 months. We could get that with the ACC deal, Tom. We'd be out of here yesterday.
Yes. Perhaps they'll offer it. Who knows?
You want the pinch a penny on Greer Street off Capitol Circle Northeast. Go in there and check them out. Say, man, I hear Cameron talking about these things all the time. Let me look at these tubs. What you got here? You'll see. There's a lot of them.
I'll take the essentially free tub, please.
It's well done. I'll give you tub talk. Pee Wee Herman is dead. Paul Rubens has passed on at the age of 70, unfortunately. Here you go.
70?
I think he was just 70.
Wow.
How old do you think he was?
61?
Yeah.
58?
So Greg Doley's the lead singer of a band I love called the Afghan Wigs, and he noted this, and because I've never met Paul Rubens, I don't have a personal story. But here's one as we doff the cap on Tub Talk to Pee Wee Herman.
Never saw him at the movies?
No, never did. Although, wasn't that theater in Sarasota or Bradenton?
I think it
was, yeah.
In the greater Tampa area.
It was down along that way.
Shocker.
Greg wrote, I met Paul Rubens 23 years ago when he was shooting with my friend Ted Demme on the film Blow. I forgot he was in Blow.
He was in Blow, yep.
Good movie. Mischievous and cool, he was charming, super intelligent, and infinitely kind. After Ted's passing, he took up the mantle of Big Brother, and besides checking in on me from time to time, he annually bombed my text with a GIF and meme assault on my birthday. Every other major holiday for that matter. And it would start in the morning, continue all day long with a flurry, not unlike fireworks at the end. And he did it each and every year. He had the biggest heart. He loved to make people laugh. I'll miss him terribly. Yeah, what a salute. What a salute to Pee Wee Herman. Paul Rubens, 23 years ago, he and my man Greg Doley became friends.
That was one of the cornerstone non-animated films of my youth was Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Love it.
I think that helped cultivate my absurd humor because that's an absurd movie, start to finish.
Which I embrace completely.
Francis.
Yeah, I didn't know he had cancer. He did. You're right, Life Spectator. He kept it private, just like Norm Macdonald, which was also shocking and sad. All right, so let's get back to Florida State here for the moment. That was Tub Talk, thanks to our friends at Pinch a Penny. I went from seriously dubious of the idea that anything real was going to be talked about on Wednesday in the next Board of Trustees meeting.
Oh, yeah, 3 o'clock Wednesday, yeah.
I went from nothing's going to happen. Who are we kidding? Nothing's going to happen here to, I don't know, man. Maybe something's going to happen.
I like that you've gone from no way to I don't know, man. That's a big step.
It's a big step. I went from, come on, man, I've heard this before. They've got nothing. They're not going to say anything. This is grandstanding. They're just rattling their sabers. It's not going to happen. Well, I'm not so sure now. I'm not telling you it will. But I think it's interesting. I know Ira's going to talk Peter Collins on Tuesday night on Warchant TV. Is that at 6 o'clock, Tom?
Tentatively, yes, 6 p.m.
Tentatively, a conversation between Peter Collins and Ira Scheffel, and Tom will serve as a driver to some extent there on Warchant TV.
Be interactive as well. I wonder what the questions will be.
If you're Peter Collins, you don't go and sit down with Ira on Warchant TV, as big a network as this is now, and just chit chat. So how you been? I mean, like, that's not how this is going to go. There's he wants this to be interactive. Every single fan in this collective fan base desperately wants to know Florida State's future in this Walking Dead conference.
You don't think there's going to be questions about appropriations for the union expansion, perhaps? Chair Collins, I'm glad we have this forum because as it relates to Oglesby Union's expansion,
I don't
and the
think so.
appropriations, I've got some concerns.
So it's fascinating because you wouldn't agree to that interview and you wouldn't see these stories. Again, I don't know what is true and what isn't true of the various outlets that have Florida State arguing that they were defrauded by the ACC. I don't know what's real and what's not. I know this seems to be in flux, sure, and I think that a lot of people would argue that most of this is probably erroneous, but I also think a lot of it was leaked. Now, Florida State can't say, yeah, we did. They're not going to, and they would deny it. But it seems very much to be in that realm, right, of possibility.
Well, putting on the PR firm hat, there's a lot of that these days. And this would be the contract of a lifetime, is navigating this particular issue. Wouldn't you put out feelers and smoke even if there wasn't substance behind it? I'm not saying that FSU, if they were to leak, is being disingenuous, but wouldn't you want chaos to ensue?
Yes.
And so therefore, if you're going to put out information or perhaps whisper something, or oops, I shouldn't have said that, whatever it is, to key players that might be able to echo and amplify that message, it's hard to know whether that's going to be full of substance or if it's a bluff. So that's the hard part. Nobody trusts anybody right now. Nobody trusts anybody until you see in a public forum, like on Wednesday afternoon, in which the board of trustees goes on record and says X, Y, and Z about the ACC or takes votes or whatever. Until that point, it's bluster. And it's hard to know if it is a tactic or if it's bluster that actually has a bite behind it.
Well, and also, I think, Tom, there's probably no harm in deciding to assume the role of bad guy or villain here. And, I said it before, somebody's got to leave first, okay? Clemson feels this way. 6 other teams feel this way. We know there are a lot of people that feel like this conference is on fire. People are looking for the exits, okay? Everybody is concerned about what's going to happen with their financial future as long as they stay under the umbrella of the ACC. Florida State seems to be the loudest and most obnoxious, and I mean that as a compliment, of that group. They were the first to signal, hey, no, this ain't going to get it done around here. I mean, we were the first to do it.
And that was a headline because they chose that forum.
Yes.
That was very direct.
And they knew what that would do. They knew what the repercussions were. They knew the dominoes that would fall. They knew the kind of pushback and conversations that would kickstart. They knew all of those things. And I think they know this right now. I think this is engineered by Florida State. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. And they would probably say to me, that's to Jeff, well, that's just you being an afternoon talk show host. That's absurd. We didn't do any such thing. Man, go look at some of the specifics that seem to be out there on numbers and angles that you could argue. I mean, these are approaches of a group that has fully vetted their many opportunities here to make a statement about how it's possible they could leave.
Right, and that's where you say to what end. And I understand that maybe the casual fan would say, well, to leave. Well, yes. But if you wanted to leave, you could just do it directly. So to what end?
Okay, so you and I talked about this. I think that who they're really messaging is to the Big 12. Not that they want to go to the Big 12. They need the other schools, NC State and Louisville and Virginia Tech and others, to get in the fray of the Big 12 to be part of to be part of this shaking up of a dying ACC.
Right, to help get the votes to just
they need to be made to feel this is all happening. This is crumbling all around us. Didn't you just hear Florida State is leaving? And by the way, Florida State and Clemson are best friends. So we know if they're leaving too.
Like totally. That's what it is right now.
Yeah.
It's telephone gossip.
But that's what, yes, and you can create that with these kinds of rumors. And I would think, now look, are they going to declare a breakaway from the ACC? So what? You could always change your mind. So you could say, yeah, we intend to leave.
Right, yeah.
We did on that day.
I think it's to draw out the SEC and the 4-letter to help facilitate moving parts.
But
either way,
but that's
it's
the same
cheaper
thing.
for you.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's the same thing.
Trying to reduce the number.
But you also want those other schools who are watching the ACC kind of begin to shake here, like there's cracks in the building, and you're like, oh, I don't think it's good here, man. And now you want them to say, all right, look, I've seen enough. Guys, we need to be engineering our own exit out of here. Let's get that critical mass going. Hour 2 forthcoming. Stay with.
Power Mill Training Academy equips motivated athletes focused on baseball and softball with the specific tools to reach their true potential. Now, you'll read that if you go to their website, but I'm here to tell you that, look, whether it's your daughter wanting to play softball, your son wants to play baseball, or maybe they just want to have fun and get the most out of their abilities, and that's where Power Mill comes into play. They've got coaches and camps that teach for every level of play for your son or your daughter. To learn more, go to PowerMillSports.com.
Honey, I just got a text from Dave. He wants us to come over for a barbecue. What's our excuse for not going?
Oh, no need for an excuse anymore because Dave got a new grill from Hearth and Patio.
Oh, thank goodness. Dave, we will be happy to join y'all this weekend, and congrats on the new grill from Hearth and Patio. My wife said she would bring potato salad.
Hearth and Patio invites you to elevate your grilling game this year with one of their amazing grills from Fire Magic, Royal Master, or Blaze Grills. Call them today, 850-727-4282. That's 850-727-4282, or visit them online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com. Hearth and Patio, making barbecues great in the Sunshine State.
Honey, Dave said no raisins in the potato salad this time.
Call them today, 850-727-4282. That's 850-727-4282, or visit them online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com.
There's no doubt that buying a home can feel overwhelming, especially if it's your first home. You're worried about location, school zones, square footage, inspections, insurance, loan approvals, interest rates, and of course the price. Buying a home could be the most significant investment you've ever made. But there's good news. You have our friends at Legendary Home Loans, and they're on your side and in your corner. They're going to go to bat for you. Shannon Young from Legendary Home Loans can help first-time home buyers get up to $25,000 for your down payment. For first responders, veterans, teachers, military, and healthcare workers, and that's not all. Shannon is an expert navigator of the home loan terrain, and you can trust that he's going to get you the most competitive interest rates and guide you through the process every step of the way. Plus, Shannon will also get your closing costs reduced. It's the Hometown Heroes program at Legendary Home Loans. Give them a call today, 844-FSU-LOAN. That's 844-FSU-LOAN. Or go to FSUHomeLoans.com and ask for Shannon Young.
NMLS number 2270146.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Greta, Tallahassee.
The latest betting odds and line movements from Vegas. This is your action update. Now here are your latest lines from our guys in the desert.
Tampa Bay Rays today, $1.30 road favorite at the New York Yankees. Tyler Glasnow getting the start for the Rays. It's Domingo Germán pitching for the Yankees, 8.5 under the total at Yankee Stadium. The Braves are a $2.30 set home favorite against the LA Angels. Charlie Morton for Atlanta, 10-8. 3.57 ERA. Griffin Canning for the Angels, 6-4, 4.46 ERA, 10 flat the total at Truist Park. The NFL preseason kicks off on Thursday with the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. The Cleveland Browns are the 2-point favorite, total 33. Get your free VSiN subscription right now at VSIN.com. For more sports betting news and information, go to VSIN.com. Mike Sennett, Real Talk 93.3.
Your home is the place where you know your loved ones are secure. But the things that keep your home protected can't keep pests at bay. That's where RAID comes in. For 60 years, RAID scientists have worked to protect people around the world. With trusted research, ingredients, testing standards, and product efficacy, RAID seeks to create a better future for all, especially the ones you love most. RAID, protection for all.
This radio commercial was made to convince you to stop speeding. We can't use siren sound effects on the radio, so we'll use other equally jarring sound effects to get your attention. Like telling you that whether you drive a little over the speed limit or a lot, you can crash just the same. You could hurt yourself or worse, others.
I'm at the scene of the collision.
And the damage you cause will be beyond repair. See, we didn't have to use crash or siren sounds after all. Speeding catches up with you. Brought to you by NHTSA.
Tune in every Sunday from 2 to 3 p.m. for great Southern Gospel with Bobby and Nita Key, sharing their voices for nearly 20 years, only on Real Talk 93.3.
Hello, Leon County. Let's get ready to win with Ken. I'm Ken Preston. I want to be your next Leon County property appraiser. I'm driven, committed, experienced, and a dedicated community servant. I'm ready to put my experience as a former property appraiser to work to help make a difference for the people of Leon County. Let's go to work. Vote for me. Ken Preston for Leon County Property Appraiser 2024. Win with Ken. A political advertisement by Ken Preston for Leon County Property Appraiser.
Want a Zaxby's Big Zax snack meal for free? With free fingers, free fries, free Zax sauce, even free Texas toast? All you have to do is download the Zaxby's app. Did you download it yet? Woo, saucy! Zaxby's.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
game of phone tag that is played, how quickly everybody goes from, hey, that's interesting. Oh, wonder who started that. Oh, that's also fascinating. To, are we going to join the Big Ten tomorrow? No. The answer is no, we're not joining the Big Ten tomorrow. Let's get that out of the way right off the bat. I did enjoy that at this time where we're busy and excited about Florida State's future on and off the field, that there was a headline in the Miami Herald involving, well, go figure, the University of Miami. Red flags on top of red flags. Problems mount for UM Athletics booster John Ruiz. Yes, they do.
You don't say.
None of us saw that coming. So that's good. That's good. And it's, one thing that we haven't discussed, and I know your answer, but I also think that we would be bitterly disappointed. Let's just say, and who knows how this is going to end up, but let's just say this is the beginning of something major, further adding to the shift in college football away from many traditions that we've enjoyed, but understanding that the future is not the college football of our youth, but rather one that is much more akin to professional football, and that no matter what lament you may have about what's happened to your game, the reality is you're going to continue to watch college football, maybe not in the same way that you once did, but your university, your program has got to be in the best financial position possible to compete with whatever that landscape looks like, right? So we've come to that understanding. We don't have to like it, but maybe we've grown to accept it. And that will include something else that we haven't talked about at all. And that will include probably the end of an annual game against the University of Florida and the end of an annual game against the University of Miami if they don't come along for the ride. And who would want them? But anyhow, you could be looking at yet another tradition that we do value coming to an end. And we'll see. But it's something to ponder, something to kick around.
It is definitely something to kick around if the network wars are what they appear to be from the outside. The one thing I'll say is that when you look, and I know I point to this example all the time, but I think it's that significant. If you look at the Texas, Oklahoma, SEC, and Big 12 situation, remember that it is Fox and ESPN that had to trade back and forth in order for this whole thing to work. There was the amount of money, but then there was also the shift of location for the Michigan and Texas home and home.
Mm-hmm.
And they moved it to Big Ten television first, or ESPN. Either way, the networks traded that in order to facilitate this move. So I believe Fox gets it first, and it was supposed to be the other way around on the schedule. So that tells me that the TV networks are capable of picking up the phone and talking to each other. This isn't all-out war in that sense where they've completely encapsulated themselves off from the other side. And I think in the long term, we're living in a very important time right now, but I think in the long term, wouldn't you agree this all comes back together, and whenever there's a central figure who can lead the sport, you have essentially at the highest level of college football an NFL system where you've got 4 or 5 television networks that are broadcasting the whole of Premier League college football, and this whole thing circles back and it gets more regional.
Yeah, you get
I think
10.
that they're going into 2 camps to become super conferences, and they're going to meet back probably in 10 years.
Yeah, because somebody could argue, what does it even mean if you get into the Big Ten, if you get into the SEC? It's not going to last for long. Well, it means that we're not broke for the next 10 years while they amass fortunes
and figure it out.
And figure it all out. No, I think you have to be able to eat from the same money trough, as I say, as all of the other big boys with whom you seek to compete. You cannot be in this footprint, which is the SEC's footprint, and seek to compete against those teams for recruits and coaches and facilities and resources. If they're doubling, tripling your income, you don't stand a chance. And if you fall behind over a 10-year span, when this thing changes yet again, you enter into it dead in the water.
Well, and that's the other thing. I can hear some people who love more than just football saying, oh, football ruins everything. No, not really. This is a move at this point that would secure Florida State's athletic department future in everything but football. Football will be the last thing to fall. If you stay where you are and you're operating at the deficit, football will be the last athletic program at Florida State that's going to fall victim to the gap. Everything else would first.
Yeah.
But if you can make this move and you can make the numbers work, the future of every other sport at Florida State that you hold dear, if you have one, like a softball or a baseball, whatever, either
golf
basketball,
or soccer, whatever.
yes, it is now much closer to secure because those things are the ones that are going to get cut first. We have to compete in football. It's who we are.
Well, we threw our hat in the ring ages ago. I mean, Doak Campbell Stadium is the way it is with all of the additions from a Rector set to what we see now with a gorgeous facade because of the express intent of competing at the highest levels in football.
The other thing I'd say is, while I agree, I think Miami, Florida State, let's say that Miami didn't move with us to our next destination. I think that's in more danger than Florida because I think the two networks can work together on a home and home. And I think there would be a greater appetite for it. Let's say if we were in the Big Ten, and obviously we know where Florida is, there's a greater appetite for it because the expanded playoff field is a thing now.
When you get to 12, it certainly doesn't necessarily rule you out if you lose 2 or 3 games.
You can absorb a loss if you win the conference. I mean, you're an at-large team, and the schedule is going to be awarded a hell of a lot more for at-large bids and strength of schedule than they can afford to do now with only 4 spots at the table. And they still do it now for the Big Ten and the SEC and say, well, they play. I mean, Ohio State didn't even make it to the championship game, but they played a whale of a schedule.
Right. They still do it now.
So they're a top 4 seed. So, yeah, I think it's still possible. But if you don't have Miami in the next place, I think that game is probably in more danger than Florida State.
Either way, I mean, I'd want to play those two teams annually. For
Agreed, 100%.
Always. I mean, it's rivalries are key to what it is we love about college football. I think that's probably true across all sports. But let me answer Elisa's question. Jeff, what are the chances we don't get the Daryl Jackson waiver if we make this move and piss off the ACC? Does Stan Wilcox have any say in his waiver? 2 things here. I don't think the chance Daryl Jackson gets this waiver has anything to do with our movement out of the ACC and to another conference. Does Stan Wilcox have a say? Yes, he does. But you can't go rogue and just decide screw my ex school or this group or whatever. So I listen, I don't like it. I don't think it's ideal. I think Daryl made some choices that made this difficult on him. And that's why I said last hour I'd seek to rectify some of this with some good old fashioned and somewhat ugly PR. As many interviews as possible with Daryl and his mom. Regarding the situation and how near and dear to each other they are.
So what you're saying is if you hear that particular interview is coming, we got bad news, and we're trying to get out in front of it. Is that correct? That's what you would surmise?
I mean, I feel like this was ruled upon already at once, and the Florida State's is following up. This is also something that happens a lot more than people realize, where a player, let's say there's a punishment handed down, and that, for example, we have an example that just happened a year ago. We didn't know the situation with Baba until he got the 16-game suspension.
Yeah.
And then I screamed bloody murder, and a lot of other people did too. It seemed unfair on its face. We found out that the original suspension was for the season, that it was cut in half, that it was originally 32 games. And that 16 was their answer when we appealed it. Only after that appeal did you find out that it was 16 games. That wasn't the first punishment handed down. So, we oftentimes don't even know that behind the scenes, the NCAA has answered what it was we're asking for.
Yeah.
And then we're responding with a, that's not acceptable. And, this could have already happened here too. And we've responded with a, hey, hold on.
Well, I think in this case, because of what happened with Baba, don't you think Florida State's appetite for this back and forth and, being dogged by the NCAA as they perceive it, wouldn't they be more proactive to get out in front of it and allow for the process to be a little bit more transparent through PR, through code, as you're talking about?
Yeah, well,
what I'm saying is they haven't exhausted all their options yet. They would be foolish to let that process play out the same way they did with Baba, because they got screwed in the Baba case.
Yeah, they absolutely did. Just like most schools get screwed on the regular by the NCAA. So you can absolutely probably lean towards that they'll be a little bit more vocal this time around. Again, they have to see whether they deem that to help their cause. I mean, if they think there's a legitimate chance that even though it comes right up until the 11th hour or whatever, that he'll be eligible, because remember, he's allowed to practice. So he can practice starting this week. When they start practicing, Daryl Jackson can practice. Now, it becomes a difficult situation for the coaches, because if you don't know the guy's going to play, how much do you want him to practice? Take away reps from other guys that will have to step in his absence, in particular Farmer.
And Braden Fisk.
Well, and Braden's going to get
spring.
Yeah, and Braden's going to have a ton. He's going to play a ton. So he's going to be part of that equal rotation. But somebody who would maybe garner fewer snaps would have to take more snaps, and you'd like them to get prepared in that way?
Yeah, this is where we talked about this over the weekend. I don't know if it was an official capacity or not. We've done a lot recently, but this is where Dennis Briggs, I haven't given him a ton of credit for being in the rotation at defensive tackle, because I think he just profiles much better as a mismatch on the edge, setting the edge against the run. Like, I feel like that's where he fits better. But if you're telling me that Daryl Jackson's not a part of the rotation, well, then forget what I said, because he needs to be back in the interior. He's got to rotate there. Much more important at that point. He's a Swiss Army knife, but sometimes you don't need 7 functions of the knife. You just need 1. So I think that's what would happen if the Daryl Jackson situation was to deteriorate.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. We were led to believe originally that this seemed like a no-brainer, but things change, and doesn't seem like the kid did himself any favors either. So that's kind of an unfortunate set of circumstances. You could cite immaturity, but either way, it negatively affects you. And Daryl, I'll just say this: Daryl Jackson's unlike anybody else we have on the defensive line now. I know in his brief career he has not altered games to where you look back and say, oh, God, to not have his services is to be without an All-American.
Yeah, he hasn't sniffed that yet.
Because he was in Maryland, and then he transferred to Miami. He was on a bad defense at Miami. You saw moments with Daryl Jackson while at Miami where he was a very impactful player, but he kind of ebbed and flowed there, where he was kind of waning in some games and more dominant in others. But to see him the way he is physically, and to know what his top end is, as we did in the spring, when you watch him decide that this is the rep he's going to go full bore, and that this is the time where he's decided, or he's mad, or something happens that gets his attention. When you watch that kid play with peak effort, he's unblockable. He is an NFL prospect through and through. You're not 6'5", 330, whatever he is, with feet like that and hands like that, and not changing games. You are changing games. So long as you're motivated, so long as you care, so long as you bother to play down in and down out. I don't know that we've seen that from him yet. I was looking forward to seeing that, because this would be the so-called money year.
Yeah, it's one problem before the next. So if you could clear this hurdle and you do get the waiver, then you're in a position where you say, all right, well, will you be freaking consistent for once in your career? Could you be?
I'll be honest with you, Tom. I don't even care. I care that he's consistent against LSU and Clemson.
Yeah.
And at the end of the year against Florida and maybe one other game like Pitt.
Yeah, within those games, though. I mean, that's still a concern. Like, you're never able to rest easy and exhale, I think. You could be in the course of a game and something happens that makes him angry in the first quarter of the LSU game if you're rotating in and out. Is he going to shut down? Is he going to shut down now? Like, that would be the concern that I would have from afar. It never ends, would be my point. Now, I'd rather have that problem than not have that problem. Yeah. But I think that's until his career is complete, you can never exhale in that situation. But you're right. Having seen it personally, which is the great thing about being able to cover practices in person, one of the great things about that policy, it does look different. Even from Fabo, even from some of the other guys we've had the last few years. Like, for example, Jared Jackson. You might laugh, everybody, but Jared Jackson, when he decided to win a rep, he would ragdoll like Dylan Gibbons. It'd be the dumbest thing you ever saw. Now, it happened once a week, but you say, well, come on, man. I need you to do that more often. Daryl's even different than that.
Yeah, very much so. And I would really like to see him motivated. I don't care if it's all superficial. If it's just that he wants to get paid and make a lot of money and forever alter he and his family's fortunes, then so be it. Play really hard in some big games this year. Go get paid. I don't care what happens after that. I mean, that's sometimes it's that way. I mean, not everybody, has a passion and loves football the way we'd like them to, but he's a physical freak.
Not everybody loves football the way that, a lot of people love Zaxby's. Tallahassee Zaxby's, to be specific.
Zaxby's, delicious as always.
And the way that they love this football program in the athletic department.
18 plus years running there, buddy. As a Golden Chief booster, there are 37 Zaxby's in Tallahassee. Go find you one of those 37 Zaxby's. Stop in and get one of those big chicken sandwiches. They're delicious.
I believe it was P. Simpson on the chat, who is frequently funny. Said that maybe for game day shows, we should bring out a big tub from Pinch Penny, and then fill it with Zaxby's chicken, and then report from inside the tub full of the chicken.
That sounds like a fun tub to be in.
For the first 2 minutes. Then it's just a greasy mess.
Yeah, but if you've committed to it.
Yeah, you got to lean in.
If you've got to commit to it now. You can't be like, oh, these chickens are touching my feet. You can't do. You got to be in.
The fingers are touching my feet.
Also, I'll explain in a minute. The dedication and commitment to something can also run afoul. Oh, you see what I did there? Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio. That was really good. Warchant TV.
Hey, this is your stomach speaking. It's time to eat again. We met deadlines and closed out the workday like a boss. The last thing you want to do is cook dinner. Even worse, pick up any fast food garbage. We need something good, something local. We need foodiestakeout.com. An all-star lineup of local spots like Smitty's Tap House, El Jalisco, Jerry's Cafe, Hangar 38, Metro Deli, and more. It's so easy. Just choose pickup or delivery, and let's eat the good stuff. I'm growling already. Visit foodiestakeout.com.
If you've been considering getting a new hot tub or upgrading your existing hot tub, now's the absolute best time to do it. Hot Spring Spas has the jets on full blast, and the prices right now have never been hotter. You can find huge savings at Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas, and we mean huge. For a limited time, you can get up to $5,000 off in instant discounts and rebates, plus 60 months no interest financing for qualified buyers. You heard that right, $5,000 in discounts. And that's not all. When you buy a hot spring spa from Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas, you'll get a free consultation to determine the best placement in your yard for installation, a free accessory of your choice, and install can be completed in just a matter of days. It's the most aggressive rebate program that's ever been available to buyers from Hot Spring Spas. So stop by Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas on Greer Road today to check out their 12,000 square foot showroom with over 50 hot tubs on site. If you're ready to relax, Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas is ready to show you how.
A cup of Joe, Java, brew, go-go beans, brain water, liquid lightning, wakey juice, whatever you call your cup of coffee, you're missing out if it's not Grassroots Coffee. At grassrootscoffee.com, you'll find an easy way to order the best roasted coffee beans available. It's very simple. Choose the blend you want and how you want it ground, and the bag you receive will have the date your beans were roasted and packaged on it, all written by hand and signed by the roastmaster himself. You'll know that's as fresh as it gets. You can get Grassroots outside of your house also at some of your favorite restaurants in town. Next time you're out to eat, try asking for Grassroots Coffee by name, because there's a good chance they will have it for you. And if you own a business, Grassroots Coffee has options to stock your break rooms with all the productivity powder your team needs. Plus, like some other options that you'll find at work, Grassroots Coffee actually is a part of our community. Hit grassrootscoffee.com today and get yourself a treat. Some locally owned, locally roasted, and locally loved Grassroots Coffee.
When you need a plumber quick, how long is an acceptable time to have to wait?
Yeah, hey, it's the Millers again. Just calling you about our little plumbing problem.
2 hours?
Hey, we were hoping you can get here soon because the water is getting really bad. I mean, please hurry.
4 hours?
I know you said you were on your way, but honey, tell the kids to drink water.
8 hours?
Don't worry about us. We're fine.
At M&L Plumbing, you'll never have to wait long for quality, dependable service right when you need it. At M&L Plumbing, we listen to our customers, and our qualified technicians aim to achieve 100% customer satisfaction. So the next time you need plumbing work or repairs, think of the name M&L Plumbing, your local plumbing experts, commercial or residential. Give us a call, 850-575-9393, or visit us online at mandlplumbing.com. M&L Plumbing, for all of your plumbing needs.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Back. I just took a glance at the headlines from On 3. Nebraska wide receiver Josh Fleeks sent home from camp for being overweight. You fat ass. That's just a great headline.
Isn't home the last place you want to send him?
Yeah.
Send him to the sand pits.
It's just funny. It's been a tough week at Nebraska. Miles Farmer suspended by Nebraska. Matt Rule confirms. He's obviously trying to make an impression, but it's pretty good. Josh, sir, did you work out at all this offseason? You're fat as hell. Get off my field.
Been doing them arm curls with the quarter pounders?
I can still remember how hard we laughed that first time we saw Kelvin Benjamin.
Oh.
So Tom and I are at practice. Kelvin Benjamin comes walking in, the much ballyhooed Kelvin Benjamin, who obviously went on to do some great things for us. And, so he arrived on campus after Jimbo had told us he had a chance to be the greatest receiver in the history of college football. And we're like, oh, well, this is going to be amazing. And you saw the measurables and all of that. You're like, okay, well, this is going to be a special player. He got in. He was fat as hell. I thought he was a tackle.
He had a pot belly.
Oh, he had a pot belly. He had a sizable pot belly. It was impressive. So I thought, well, maybe he meant the greatest tight end to ever live because he's not going to be a wide receiver. And then they had to motivate him. And that was the theme.
That was
every day.
The crux is, remember under Jimbo in the beginning, the media department got a lot better with the off-season videos that they were producing, be it game specials or off-season snippets, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the one video before Kelvin really took off, you saw the summer workouts, and he's doing the ropes.
Yeah.
He's underneath this. Yeah. He's in the bowels of the stadium.
He's getting after it. Yeah.
A bunch of guys are sweating, and they cut to Kelvin like, oh, well, would you look at that?
He's getting back after it.
In this day and age, we would have gone with a YouTube video and put out, can you believe this? Could Florida State's receiver core jump to another level? Look at this visual evidence. Like, that's exactly what we would have done. It was big time news.
We would have been absolutely enthralled by that and had the opportunity. Because I will give him credit for this. A lot of guys never, if you don't love football, something that we talked about with Mario Cristobal in Charlotte, he brought up when he's interviewing coaches and bringing in new people, he said, well, we look for good people. And I think every coach is going to say that. Every employer is going to say that you want to know that the person you're hiring is a good person because you're bringing them into your work environment. In the case of team sports, you're bringing them into a locker room. You're bringing them into these surroundings where right now, for example, things are going really well. So you got to be careful who you bring in, who you let into that environment. So it's not unusual to hear a coach say, well, they got to be good people. Okay, fine, whatever. Roll your eyes, nod your head. But when he said they better love football because what we do is hard, and when things get tough and the hours begin to build, you better love it. He's not wrong about that. And I think that's the hard part if you're a football player who's really good at playing football, but you don't love it. You watch guys like that burn out. Now, sometimes they burn out in college right off the bat. As soon as they get there, like, this is too much. This is way worse than it was in high school. I didn't even love it in high school. I just have to be really good at it. So I got a scholarship. How can I turn down a scholarship? My parents want me to play, so I'm going to go get my education. I come up here, but now, man, it's 18 hours a day or 16 hours a day. I hate this. I just want to live my life. I've never liked this sport. It's 105 degrees. You know, like all of those things can happen, and guys don't rebound. Now, some know enough to realize I'm extremely gifted. I can run like the wind blows, and I'm 250 pounds. There are very few freaks like that around. I can get paid. So can I hang in there and do this thing that I hate for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years and forever change my life? If you have that kind of maturity, if you have that kind of ability to project, then you really can become a multimillionaire and be out of football by the time you're 26 and have the whole rest of your life to live with a hell of a starting point. You know, like that can be you. But most of the time, because we're all immature when we're 18 and 19 years old, and we don't really realize how young 23, 24, 25, 26 is, it seems like forever in the distance when you're 19 to be 30, right? But as you and I both know, 30 happens like that. And then it's 40.
Yeah, we're about there.
Yeah, so it happens very quickly. And if you could go back and tell the 18-year-old self, look, man, you've got this path. You can set yourself up for life by the age of 24. Then you'll be out doing whatever you want to do. Most don't do it. So I give Kelvin Benjamin a ton of credit. I don't think he ever liked playing football. I don't think he wanted to play. He's just huge. He's just a freak of nature. A big, strong kid that nobody looks like that and runs like that. Like when he was in shape, he was unguardable. He has one season on record in college football where that was the case. And he really only has one great season in the NFL. He ends up winning all kinds of awards. It's that great season. It gets him paid. He did it. He hung in there long enough to get paid, to finally make his money. So that's admirable because football is hard. It is extremely hard, especially when you get to camp this time of year. Good God, what these guys are about to go through.
Outside of the obvious example that you brought up with needing a waiver being cleared on the defensive line, this roster seems to be a bunch of dudes who love the game.
Which is why I think ultimately you got to be careful he doesn't get the waiver. You got to be careful.
Oh, if he does not.
All right.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. What's the first phone call? Is it to Daryl or to Joshua? If he doesn't get the waiver.
Yeah.
I call Farmer first. Hey, man. Just letting you know we got some bad news coming. You're still in it, right? You're with me? Big year, Joshua. Come on now.
It's important that you make sure that locker room remains intact and everybody's on the same page. Everybody likes where it's headed and are able, listen, I'm rooting for everything to work out. It's something to keep our eyes on as we start camp and we wait on this information and we gauge the offseason. Up in Charlotte, I asked Mike yet again about how it is when you choose to bring guys in, you sustain the status quo, which is right now a locker room full of guys that really like each other, who are all on the same page, who we found out had meetings and text threads and group text threads about coming back and achieving something special. I thought that was interesting when we were there to have these guys talk about and refer to group texts when they were frustrated and, talked about their futures and what was possible and then deciding to come back together and make a go of it. Certainly the battle's end helped out an awful lot. They're becoming financially viable helps. But, that's...
What did that sound like to you? It reminded me of the unofficial small council of LaMarcus Joyner and Telvin Smith, James Wilder and Timmy Jernigan. 2013 was only great because we failed in 2012. It's the only reason it was that great. It's the only reason that we're up 35-0 in a quarter against NC State was because that taste left in the mouth of a LaMarcus Joyner and others who saw this place be nothing. It was rubble when they arrived, and they thought they deserved it in 12. It was so sour that it motivated them to come for your soul in the first quarter every single week. Without 2012, that doesn't happen that way. It just doesn't.
What I think is interesting is always that when you get a group of guys who collectively decide to do something together, and in this case, they haven't achieved anything yet. So they individually, they're well thought of, and they've won 10 games now, but they haven't won anything yet. They haven't won anything. They didn't win the division. They didn't win the conference.
Mike.
Yeah, I did. And it's the best case scenario for Mike and his coaches, because you can say you're better. They can grow. You can watch their confidence grow, but you can also cut them down to size very quickly. You haven't done a damn thing. It's cool to have a 10-win season. There have been a lot of them around here, but you didn't win anything of significance. But, boy, are there opportunities to do so now. Now that you've come back and you've put in the hard work and you're going to continue to grow, and now you got an opportunity to achieve something of significance, to be a team, as Leonard Hamilton likes to say, of significance, right? They can be that now. I like when that's owned by the team and not just the coach saying that. I like when a team feels like they agree that they've embraced those expectations of each other as well as what's possible, because then you get what you just described in 2013. You get a very talented group of guys hell-bent on kicking ass and taking names. And then you watch the fury with which they do that, right? The first quarter and the first 2 quarters of every game we played not named Boston College that year were ass kickings, were dominations. And one of the reasons for that is not only were they better than everybody, and not only did they work really hard and they were all on the same page and focused together and pulling in the same direction, but it was an opportunity to go take care of business and relax. Let these other guys play, build some depth, there was nothing better. I've been on a terrible team and on a great team. And when you're on a great team, one of the cool things is that you go out, you kick ass, you win going away, and then you watch your buddies play. And there's no chance you're getting hurt because you're off the field in the middle of the third quarter. Those are great things. Now, I don't know how much of that will happen this year. College football is different, certainly, than high school football. So we'll see how many times they get that opportunity to truly rest. But there are a lot of guys that can go and grow during this season if Florida State takes care of business in the games they're overwhelming favorites. There are a lot of guys that can get a lot of significant playing time that will help out the 2024 team.
Easy to like each other right now before losses happen, disappointments happen. But it is worth noting, I'm sure you felt this too in the breakout rooms and the places you were, at least the top level of the roster that we often see, the front-facing players, they all like each other. Jordan and Jared are getting along. Travis and Trey Benson are FaceTiming each other during the breakout interview. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Kalen DeLoach talks about his bond with Tatum Bethune, and Jared Verse was talking about his bond with Braden Fisk and Jeremiah Byers. The top end of this two deep, the starters, seem to all like each other very much. Now,
yeah, they're on the same page.
Is that, necessary to go to the playoff? No, not at all. It doesn't have to be that way at all. That 14 team didn't like each other nearly as much as the 13 team.
And it showed, but they also went undefeated in the regular season.
They both went 12-0, in the regular season. But, sometimes when push comes to shove, and if you're unexpectedly down in a situation or there's an adversity, that can help pull you through it when you're in it together.
Do you remember, I'm trying to remember this because when you say it, and every time it comes up, and I think about 29 straight victories, which seems so long ago now, but it wasn't that long ago.
That's a lot.
29 straight is a lot. It is a lot. Back-to-back undefeated regular seasons is an amazing accomplishment. Do you remember that being talked about the way that we feel like it would be talked about if it were Alabama, if it were Georgia, if it were LSU, if it were Ohio State?
No, it was kind of talked about with a chuckle. Well, 29 straight for the Noles, or 26 straight as we know, 27 straight as we know. It was almost a qualifier more than it was a central talking point, because all that people could fixate on that 2014
was
season
this Jameis situation. But
in the playoff, it was new, and Florida State wasn't number one. So if Florida State was number one and consensus number one, it probably would have been talked about more. But everybody was discovering the playoff committee, so we kind of got lost in the wash there.
In dumbass reasonings, the classic game control and all that stuff.
Body clock.
What are you talking about? This is absurd. This group has now won 22, 23, 24 straight games.
Yeah, and if you think about it, that's 3 regular seasons. If you go from 12 through 14, where you're 34-2. 34-2.
Yeah. Oh. Georgia's going to probably do something similar.
And you should have been 36-0. Let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
One person is dead following an incident involving a train on Friday afternoon. The Midway Police Department confirmed on Friday after 5 p.m. in the western Palmer Road area of Midway, Marvin Johnson Jr. was struck and killed by a train. The Midway Police Department said the incident led to the immediate suspension of train services until law enforcement completed its on-scene investigation. The preliminary investigation suggests the victim was trespassing on the train tracks, putting himself in a highly hazardous situation. A barbershop that used to sit on Orange Avenue reopened Saturday. On Capitol Circle Southeast, Classic Cut Barbershop's old location on Orange Avenue is set for demolition to make way for the new Southside Transit Center. One of the things the new location boasts is having plenty of parking. Classic Cut Barbershop is now located at 1140 Capitol Circle Southeast in Tallahassee. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. A heat advisory continues until 8 p.m. tonight. Chance for scattered thunderstorms this afternoon. Otherwise, lots of sunshine. High temperatures reach up to 94. Northwest winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. 76 tonight. Chance for scattered thunderstorms. 97 tomorrow. Slight chance for scattered storms. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 92.
This is Kyle, service manager from Barano Heating and Air. Schedule an appointment from your mobile device to learn about our Total Comfort Service Program. With guaranteed same-day service, 15% off necessary repairs, and $25 berry books to use towards air filters and other products. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Any day, anytime, anywhere. Online at baranoac.com.
Florida license CAC 1816-186. My man, Eddie.
Jeff, what's happening, dude?
Bears eating people all over the place. I read another article today. It's the third one in the last month of somebody getting mauled to death by a bear.
Man, bears have their own space. Well, you got to let them have that.
You do. You got to stay clear of bears, is what you're saying?
Yes.
I got a question for you. Here you go. If you had to be mauled to death, eaten alive by any animal in the world, which would you choose to eat you alive?
Ooh, I think maybe I'd want, I don't know, longevity time, a mouse.
Just a slow burn.
Slow burn.
This thing just finished the pinky. It's been a month.
I could go to work. I could still do my thing. I could probably live 30 years.
I thought you were going to say great white because it'd be quick, or a grizzly. We went with mouse.
Yeah, mouse.
Okay. Mouse it is. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Take a 2x4 to the establishment as we know it right now, Florida State. Come on.
What is AWA Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock, buddy?
That is the members only, Warchant members only, Ask Warchant Anything. See what we did there? It's like a play on AMA.
Yes, I got it.
Yeah. It's staff members are going to be available for Warchant subscribers only in a video show. It's interactive just for you. And you got us to ask us whatever the hell you want. So it's another perk of being a Warchant member in addition to things like, 10% off every Garnet and Gold purchase.
That's a big one too, buddy. My goodness gracious. I love it. I'm excited. Hope you're doing well. Troy, I saw that you were tuned in today from your hospital listening to the show. We appreciate that always, and I wish you well. Shout out to you and everybody else that's in the chat, by the way, as well. This is going to be fun. This is going to be a fun year. I'm just thinking big picture on a Monday as we get started. I want to take the time to let that wash over you a little bit. Think a little bit about another season. I feel fortunate. We've been here doing this 25 years I've been doing the Jeff Cameron Show. I love Tallahassee. Obviously, this has been an awesome and fun career to have. But I never, for many of the years, I didn't take any time at the start of each season to kind of be in the moment and celebrate it a little bit. And I think losing certainly helped me find that. Getting older helped me find that. Lots of other life things like having kids and all that make you do it. But I have all summer long, and in some ways it made the summer go faster, oddly. I think that being excited about the season and asking questions and contemplating different scenarios and talking it through with people on the chat and the email and listeners of the radio on 93.3, like just kind of going through all of that fully. You and I did a video that I don't know if it's posted yet or when it's going to be about the depth chart.
It goes tonight.
So, I mean, just doing that with you yesterday, that was fun. We talked about the many areas that Florida State has, layers of talented players. It's really cool.
Well, another quick promo, because we didn't really touch on it today, but Florida State recruiting is on fire. We haven't yet got to camp, and Florida State's number 5 in the country in terms of the team rankings. And so tonight's Monday Smash will be myself, Michael Langston, going to be answering questions that you might have in the interactive chat regarding the Florida State weekend. It's been a good one. They had 3 commitments in 3 days, including an offensive lineman from the West Coast. But then also, Mike Norvell tweeted something very interesting out today.
Yeah, I saw that.
Mike doesn't do that for no reason. So now we all know that on Saturday there's a high profile, perhaps even higher profile than Charles Lester in some ways, commitment available. What does Mike Norvell know?
We're watching the momentum continue to be built up. I did the Lester video with Mike. You and I didn't get a chance to talk about how big it is to get the kid is he from the Congo?
Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Yeah.
Yes. Monesi Ititi.
Getting ITT from USC and having him flip and decommit from Southern Cal, which happened on Friday, is a huge deal.
Yeah, I did some background on Monesi before doing that particular video. I was doing some extra stuff for the site this weekend.
If you were going to order a drink and it was called Monesi, you'd be really eagerly anticipating said drink. Like, I'll have a Monesi, please. Just sounds great.
When would you like it? ITT? I'd like it.
That's well played.
So he was a basketball player first at this academy where he plays in California.
Good feet.
And the coach caught him and during one of the games and said, "Yep, you would be a perfect fit, explosive athlete as a forward." I think the coach was quoted as saying that he was fouling everybody.
Well, he's a giant guy who could move. He's like, man, You're playing the wrong sport. Let's go.
So he gets him out to the football fields. This is a developmental prospect, all the same, but immediately falls in love with football, loves it to death. And usually when you have a project, even if they've got the measurables, the recruiting services will give you a 3-star. Bjorn Werner was a 3-star when he was in the Northeast playing high school football. This kid was already rated a consensus high upper tier 4-star. Just athletic as can be.
You know me, man. Give me offensive linemen. Give me some linebackers sprinkled in there, and we'll celebrate all day long. I know the kid from South Carolina, so that's it. So here we go.
Yep.
It's exciting. Let me tell you about Power Mill Training Academy, equipping and motivating athletes focused on baseball and softball with the specific tools to reach their potential. That's right. You want your kids to have fun, but you want them to know the fundamentals so that they can have fun and maximize their abilities, developing strong fundamental skills foundational to any player's development, whether that is softball or baseball. They do it all at Power Mill. Check into it. Find out how you can get your kids signed up at PowerMillSports.com. Probables, Tom, if you would.
It's time for, how you say, with the pitching, probables?
Tom, I told Director Matthew those Phillies want no more of the Battling Buccos. The wrath of the Battling Buccos. A little walk-off yesterday.
Raise the Jolly Roger.
It was beautiful. The dance to follow. Did he watch the whole dance? Did he get to see the dance around third and the home plate? Because it was fantastic. Phillies, Marlins, aforementioned Phils. Tawan Walker and Edward Cabrera. Rays, Yankees, Tyler Glasnow. Domingo Germán. Boy, the Orioles weren't having it yesterday. 6 runs in the first against the Yankees before they ever recorded an out. Big suck it to the Yankees. Brewers, Nationals. Corbin Burns, Jake Urban. Orioles, Blue Jays, Kyle Gibson. Chris Bassett. We got the Angels and the Braves. Griffin Canning. Mm-hmm. By the way, Charlie Morton is 10-8 with a 3.5. Old-ass Charlie Morton out here dealing.
Am I correct in seeing you only have 3 here today? Hey, Griffin, come on over.
No! Reds, Cubs, Andrew Abbott, Marcus Stroman. Guardians, Strohs, Noah Syndergaard, JP France. Padres, Rockies, Seth Lugo, Austin Gomber. Red Sox, Mariners, Nick Pivetta, George Kirby, and finally D-backs, Giants, Ryan Nelson. Not Ryan. TBD for the Giants, and that is a look at those that shall reside on the bump. You know, I'll be happy to say goodbye to July. I wanted to welcome August in the worst way anyhow, because that's the start of football, and this begins the week of it, and we all celebrate. But also, Tom, because this morning, July pissed me off one last time. I'm very particular about my nails. Do you know this?
Nails.
I trim my nails the first sign that they're getting too long. I can't stand having nails that are too long. It bothers me. I don't know why. I can just feel it. Like, I'm not talking about when they're real long and you actually like cut yourself or something, but like just enough that it's over the tips of your fingers there. You're like, oh, hey, what are we doing? It's time to trim them up. But because I'm very particular about my nails, I tend to make the mistake of overcropping.
Oh, man. Yep. Bamboo shoots.
I did that this morning on not one, but 2 different nails, and they're hurting me at this very moment. Now, luckily, my nails grow very quickly. So within, the next 24 hours, the skin that should not have been exposed to the elements that is stinging should be taken care of. But damn it, I blame July. Tired of it. Look at that. Just, tore them up.
I got one for you today. I touched the element in the toaster oven with my middle finger.
Ouch.
I was reaching in, miscalculated the depth.
Yeah, ouch.
It's numb. It's like that scene, well, not your era, more my era, but Men in Black when they take Will Smith's fingerprints off of his fingers. Puts his hand on the globe.
Yeah, did you did you know as soon as you did like that instantaneous
And I pull the finger out and it's all white on the tip, like just completely dead, I'm afraid. I know, director.
Burns are no joke, man.
Burns are no joke.
Burns are no, burn.
We keep it moving.
I can cut myself without a problem.
Was an English muffin here.
Yeah. I can cut myself and just be like, it's a gash. That's gonna hurt. That's okay. You burn yourself. That's a different deal. Son of a.
That's interesting. It's the friction of the gash that I don't like. But the
Gash doesn't
burn
bother me.
is no big deal. I once burned my forearm on well, this was when I was working at the deli. They got the big, thing of the potatoes.
Oh, yeah.
The spuds, as they were called. How's the spud line coming? That's what the guy would yell. And the door opened, and the glass door that this jerk swung open from. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Right on the forearm. No big deal, though. No big deal.
I don't mind. I can deal with cuts. You're going to get cut, man. You're going to get cut when you're out and about. If you're a guy, you're playing with your kids or whatever, you're running around, you're in the trees, it happens, you get cut up. Only kind of cuts I can't stand are paper cuts. Woo, we don't
You had to
talk about
say
them.
it.
We don't talk about them.
You had to say
Paper
it.
cuts are no bueno. Everything else you can kind of deal with.
Yeah.
But the nails today, man, the nails, I blame it solely on July. I just wasn't thinking. I think my vision and everything was clouded by the severe humidity and heat that engulfs us every waking second. We live in this godforsaken state.
So if you were the major league pitcher version of yourself in an alternate universe, you'd have that nail file all the time.
All the time.
You'd be the guy on the dugout with the nail file.
You got it. Your nails got to be right. You never notice it when you put on your golf club, like when you're playing, you're like, nails are too long, and they dig in. Oh, you can't have it.
Yeah, the worst is when you're caught napping because I'm an interlocker, and the one pinky nail, it'll dig in between the knuckles.
You're like,
and then you get the half moon cut.
Can't have it.
It's a little half moon gash.
No, you can't have it. Tom's happy about the trades, Michael. Tom doesn't have to go on and on about that. He wants the whole team to be sold off. It's time to get rid of these bums.
You keep Verlander, though, if you can.
I think you're going to trade
him. You have
him.
You probably will. But if you have him and Sengasan leading the rotation next year, that's a good way to do it.
I'd trade him.
Hey, I won't be mad
not
if they do it.
Sengason. I'd keep Sengason, but
No,
you got to,
yeah.
you got to trade Verlander.
I won't be mad if they do it because the haul will be good.
Yeah, get something for him.
I said that. Like he said, the owner is a man of his word. He said he'd pay the remainder of the salary to get a better prospect, and that's what he did to get Acuna's little brother.
So between tonight and tomorrow and the next day, man, we're going to have so much fun looking at this. Like if you go to ESPN's homepage today, I'm not vouching for ESPN, any place that covers sports, like there, Connolly's got an article today on the big takeaways from the Big 12 and the Pac-12 situation that remains murky. And then there's college football's top schedules. Then you go further down the page, you see, unfortunately, injury reports from NFL camps and other stories about NFL camps. You're like, it's here. It's here. It's all here. It's happening.
Yeah, the Bucks' Aaron Donald pick has a calf strain. He left the field.
The Aaron Donald pick.
That's right. That's what everybody terms him. Jalen Ramsey's out till December.
Well, yeah, that I saw yesterday. He had surgery, yeah.
Has Dalvin Cook signed with the Jets yet?
No, but I think he will.
Yesterday.
I think he will. Yep. But it's here. It's upon us, right? And then we didn't even get to talk about Sean Payton making an ass of himself, as usual. But, he's had a substance abuse problem in the past, though.
Just let that sit there.
That's what I would have said if I were the coach he was talking about.
He also has closing on Super Bowls with legendary quarterback problem.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy. Hello, Mike McCarthy. You're just a skinnier version.
Knowing Peyton, he would have just blamed it. I can only do so much with a check down. That too would have been a fair.
Guys, I have to call my trick plays. I have to show you how smart I am.
What do you want me to do? This guy can't get it beyond 15 yards from the line of scrimmage.
Do you realize that Jameis threw a touchdown in our game against the Bucs?
Good work out of you. Good work, Director Matthew. It was great to be back, everybody. Be tuned in tonight for the Smash. Tom and Michael kicking ass, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.